me rumors all the time.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I was too. But yeah, there's always rumors. Well, yeah, watch your feet. These fucking the way they got that nailed in.
No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace!
Officers are keeping plenty of distance tonight, just like we saw last night. Peaceful protest.
I'm gonna sign off for folks. Take some pictures.
How close are they to me? I want to find the CMPD live streamer. Where are they? Somebody, I'm gonna watch the comments. Somebody walk me toward the person streaming live for CMPD. I want to talk to them.
Someone's in the crowd live streaming?
I don't know if they're in the crowd. Are they in the crowd or are they just nearby?
What? Are you? You've been out here every night, man. I've seen you. Every time I see you on the
Are they at the back of the group or the front of the group? Front or back of the group? There's a lot of people out here with cameras. Behind me, 50 feet. Point them out. Let me know when you see me on it.
Fuck the police! Fuck the police! Fuck the police! Fuck the police! Help peace! Help peace! Help peace!
Did I find them? Is this it? By any chance, are you Rob Tufano?
I am.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm a Queen City nerd.
You're Justin.
That's me.
You're like you're like a rock star.
Essentially, yeah.
Hey,
Are you out here live streaming for
we are,
CMPD
man.
tonight?
I was gonna call. We were trying to come up with something kitschy, but you already took Queen City Nerve, so you left us very little room for a wiggle room here. So we're gonna have to come up with something a little bit smarter. But I'd be hard pressed to come up with anything smarter.
Sure.
Hey, all kidding aside, do you mind if I get you?
Please.
Can we get away from the action?
Yeah. Oh, this
Justin, right?
This guy yells. Come here.
You know, I rarely did I get an opportunity to see you. I see a lot of what it is that you're putting out. Are they going to be able to hear you at home if I talk with you?
Yeah.
Because of the way that the camera's positioned right now?
For sure. I'll talk loud enough. No problem.
It was your video on Tuesday night that really brought this thing to a flashpoint, that really got people talking. For those at home who aren't familiar with what I'm referencing, it was just before 9:30 on Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
We're on 4th Street College, try-on, and there was a dispersal order that was given, and civil rights unit officers got to get that crowd dispersed. And what was reported earlier, a crowd that had some incidents involving some violence, throwing some things. A dispersal order was issued. A couple of dispersal orders, a few, I think 9 in all that night. At the end of the day, though, on 4th Street, some agents, irritants, were deployed to try to move that crowd out, and essentially, at least what it appeared like on the video that you shot, the young people were tracked.
200. Yes.
At least, right? We saw the video, and the optics were just hellacious at best and sickening, downright sickening, and worse to see young people like that. got the attention of the police chief to the extent that he decided to request an independent review from the State Bureau of Investigation to ensure that what those officers did out there was the right thing, was the lawful thing, and we expect to have that review back in the not too distant future. What can you tell us about what you identified that night?
So no matter how the chief feels about it, no matter how SBI feels about it, no matter what you saw from the air or from on the ground, the people were ambushed. We were 100% ambushed. It was a plain and simple military tactical linear ambush where we were marched up 4th Street, where riot officers came running around the corner to throw flashbangs and tear gas to get the crowd to turn around and walk back down toward College Street, where riot officers had already lined a position as we had walked by. They threw tear gas. There were now 2 clouds of smoke on either side, with only 1 point of exfil, with no direction toward it, and we were being fired on from an elevated position. Now that smoke came into the crowd and consumed all of us to the point where we were suffocating. I myself felt like I was going to die. It was the first time since I've been out here at 6:15 p.m. on Friday where I felt in fear for my life. So much to the point where we had to rip up a security gate on the Omni Hotel parking garage to crawl underneath it, hundreds of people, to run into a parking garage with no exit as riot officers entered from the College Street side to continue to shoot at us with pepper balls as we were disoriented and trying to catch our breath.
Yeah, I mean, some show on social media, they just took off like wildfire. Videos, last I checked, more than 100 million people viewed that video from around the world. You know, you hear about this investigation, and I wasn't there, man. I'm going by what I saw in the video, and, you know, I know that there's other videos out there. I know that once this review is completed, that's going to be released. You said you've been out here since 6:15 on last Friday. Tomorrow will be a week, right? Independent of 4th Street. How have things been managed, man? Was that one of the worst things that you've seen out here?
That was the worst, aside from the incidents where people are directly targeted, myself included. I know I'm not overly credentialed as media, but I am.
I mean, we're all media, right? To a certain extent.
Sure, but I am a legitimately credentialed media person. And I've been directly targeted as a frontline person with pepper balls, tear gas, and flashbangs thrown directly at me. I have video evidence of all of it. My favorite one that nearly traumatized me was on 3rd Street here. Somebody threw a Molotov cocktail at that pedestrian crossing sign, and everybody was forced down 3rd Street toward College Street. I stayed about halfway between Tryon and College Street to film the aftermath of what was happening. The officers started shooting pepper balls at me relentlessly while I was standing there filming, and then this was after it's been called an unlawful gathering. I totally understand, but I'm still here. If nobody else is going to disperse, then I'm going to be here to record and document. It is my job. It is also my First Amendment right. And a dispersal order does not deny me of my First Amendment right. So as I was being fired on, there was a dispersal order. I always announce when the dispersal order is given on my live for context. But at that time, they threw what I thought was a flashbang directly at my body. It bounced on the ground 10 feet in front of me, came about right here where I thought it would explode. I was able to move out of the way, and it hit the ground. Turns out it was just a smoke grenade. But I thought they'd thrown a flashbang directly at my body. They still threw a projectile, munitions, a tactical smoke grenade directly at my body. But they've been targeting people out here directly.
Just walk with me if you could.
Please.
Hey, look, I respect you, man. I respect the work that you're doing out here.
Thank you.
I respect your experience. I trust your experience. I wasn't out here firsthand to say that your experience or your accounts of things are not true. I know that that's something you believe happened, and I always believe otherwise. If you were singled out and targeted, that's just not the way it's supposed to happen.
Sure.
Straight up. That's just not the way it's supposed to happen.
Well, I've said multiple times this weekend that the physical presence of the officers with the batons, the riot gear, and the bicycles as they move forward is enough to disperse the crowd. Not disperse to send them running and make them leave, but if there's not an unlawful gathering order given like there was not last night, as they progress forward, the crowd moves with them. Tear gas is not necessary. This is what I'm advocating for now. There should not be tear gas used in protest crowds, period. Flashbangs and pepper balls are just as effective to get people to run away.
So I guess you're advocating definitely opposed to any kind of gas or irritants that would be deployed.
Tear gas.
Yep, to get a crowd to disperse. Apparently, it's not only gotten your attention, it's gotten the attention of elected officials here locally and even statewide. It's got the conversation going. You, yourself, and because of the work that you've done out here, you, in large part, kind of triggered this whole conversation.
I would hope
Your
so.
thoughts there?
Well, I'm not out here for recognition. I'm out here to do exactly that. The whole point, I've been watching these protests around the country, and they're not being documented the right way. Mainstream media can't walk around for 10, 12 hours like I can. I own my company. I don't get a salary. I don't get paid. I'm out here doing this work because there needs to be documentation. This is history being made right now all across the country. And if people can't control the narrative, and elected officials, appointed officials, and people above them in the mainstream media can control the narrative, then it all becomes fear-mongering and everything becomes false and nobody knows what to believe. So I've been out here recording for over 60 hours. I've walked 70 miles already with these people, and I've seen everything that's happened out here. So that's what I'm trying to do. And if conversations start from that, then good.
Well, at the very least, you know, and I've watched a lot of your coverage. At the very least, it's got people talking.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, whether it's the agents, you know, whether it's the tactics, measures that police take to try to manage these crowds, you know, that's got to be reassuring to know that those 70 miles that you put on foot, that you huffed over the last 7 days, haven't all been for naught.
Yes. No, it is very nice. So now I want to ask you just like 2 or 3 questions. You run the CMPD Twitter account.
I do.
And as you know, you tweet occasionally.
I do.
So you know that it's obviously been under scrutiny in the media for the back and forth that you had with Morgan Fogarty the other day.
Okay.
And she makes a good point, because I've been out here trying to talk to officers, and I was just talking to Lieutenant Chicory down there at Romare Bearden Park, and Fairbach and everybody else that I've been out here talking to.
Good guy.
And you say that there are officers available for media to discuss things with, and there are.
Yeah.
But what I was talking to them about is there's nobody out here that's an expert on riot control tactics that we can ask questions to. There's no volunteer on the constructive conversation team that is an expert on what we're dealing with out here right now. Therefore, we don't have any. I can't walk up to these officers on bikes.
No, because they're working.
Because they're working. I can't ask them. But the volunteers don't have the questions to the answers that need to be answered.
Okay.
And that's the problem.
The construction conversation team, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the construction conversation team at home, they're officers, they're not volunteers, they're officers who are assigned to respective divisions. We've got 13 divisions or precincts or team offices, whatever you want to call them, throughout the city. They're mobilized when we have significant events, large-scale demonstrations, protests. They're there to facilitate. They're there to answer some of the questions. You know, sometimes it's just, you know, an occasion for protesters to have an opportunity to vent, to express themselves.
Most of them are out here to have a dialogue.
Absolutely, and that's exactly.
But they can't have a dialogue with them.
Well, not with the bike officers.
Sure.
Referencing these guys.
But there are no constructive conversation officers in this group right now, aside from Captain Brad, Koch. I can never remember.
He loves you to death. You know, fist bump, so let's get it right.
Look,
Koch.
Yeah, and I literally just asked him. I'm walking around with his card in my hand. So Captain Brad Koch is actually out here, but he's not part of that constructive conversation team, and he's also trying to make sure that this crowd is safe.
Yeah.
So he's not a point of interview contact.
He's working too, but we could. That's not lost on me.
Yeah.
You know, the members of the construction conversation team, they're cops.
Yeah.
Street cops, and they're not going to know all the nuances when it comes to deployment and mobilization and tactics and means and methods. And you do need subject matter.
And that's what we want. We want subject matter experts out here who are involved with the things that happen to these large group of people while they're protesting, so that the media like myself, Morgan Fogarty from WCCB, or anybody else, or even just the people in the crowd, should be able to ask them and get the answers on why the munitions are deployed, down to every last detail.
Absolutely.
And we have not had access to that whatsoever.
There hasn't been a request independent of a one-off request.
I'm officially making the request right now to have subject matter experts out on the ground for people to ask questions to.
It's documented and we're going to post it, so now it lives in perpetuity, and we are going to officially tell you that absolutely.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we make someone available? But when you're in the throes of a demonstration, you have all hands on deck, like, hey, you brother. when you have all hands on deck like this, you know, to break bicycle officers away from their posts and trying to minimize people from getting run over by vehicles, or people like Captain Cox, who's trying to manage considerable crowds that are just trying to exercise their First Amendment rights. It's not the practical time, it's not the safe time, it's just not the appropriate time.
Totally makes sense.
Not expert to do that.
Totally makes sense. But from being out here for now 7 nights in a row, unless the police impede on the flow of the protesters, there is no tension. These people police themselves. It's its own little community. As they stay behind, as we saw last night on Wednesday, the dirt bike officers last night, they drove up to make sure that the cars didn't come through the crowd so that we don't have another Charlottesville, and then they dispersed and they let...
Let's meet somewhere here.
Okay.
And I don't know how much latitude you have. You're a journalist.
I got all the time in the world.
I respect that there are parameters that you have to live within. You know, I go so far as to say 99% of the people that are behind me are people with good intentions and are going to do the right thing. Would you say that the 99% of people over my left shoulder, those guys and women,
Are you talking about just the officers, or are you talking about the whole crowd?
I'm talking about police officers.
I believe that 99% of every single person that you see out here is out here to do the right thing. I do believe that.
So there's no divide. There's no divide at all. Just that
1% is a divide.
Right, well,
as you see with the wealthy and the poor, 1% is a big enough divide.
99% of everyone out here, police officers and demonstrators alike, are good intentioned, well-intentioned people who are going to do the right thing. We both agree there. But I think we'd also agree that that 1% really caused a lot of trouble for both.
Absolutely. And as I was,
it's easy to paint the ball with a broad brush, is it not?
And I was talking to Chicory about that down there. That I feel that there need to be certain training tactics implemented for the CEU officers to identify individuals in the crowd that are throwing rocks and throwing fireworks and throwing bottles, to take them out individually and allow people to continuously peaceful protest, because I witnessed the helicopter allegedly identify somebody in the crowd on Saturday night of 2,000 people, pass one firearm from them off to somebody else, and the CEU officers were able to come in to a crowd of 2,000 people, identify and arrest that individual person, but they can't do it with rocks and bottles. I understand that everything elevates and escalates in the heat of the moment, but I feel that should be addressed in training tactics for CEU. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree that there's always room for additional training and development. You know, I'm not going to sit here, I hope everyone can hear Justin and hear me, because I think it's a really important exchange. I don't think any of us can sit here with a straight face and say that this is a profession that isn't in need of, you know, changes and reform. But I also don't think that the whole system is broken. You know, I don't think anyone with a straight face can say that this is a perfect profession. You know, it's a profession that's made up of people, and sometimes people make mistakes, sometimes people make missteps, sometimes there's oversight, sometimes people are just flat out shitty and have no business being in the profession.
And some people, and sometimes.
I apologize for anyone at home, but I'm going to be straight with you, my man.
Please.
You know? So I think you know, there's not much daylight between either one of us when it comes to those things. I think it's got to be reasonable reform, you know, that keeps the community safe, that keeps officers safe, respects everybody's civil liberties. You know, and that's a tough balancing act sometimes, man. You know, when you're managing situations and events like this, you know as well as I do, you've been doing it for the better part of 7 days right now. They haven't all looked like this. You know, they haven't all looked like this.
They all start like this.
They sure do start like this. And it's just so gratifying to see.
Yes.
You know as well as I do, there are things that are hurled.
Yes.
There are people that lose their temper.
And I've watched people that throw things get their ass beat. I apologize, but I've watched them get their ass beat in this crowd by these protesters, because that's not what they're here to do. But when one person throws something from the middle of the group and turns around and runs away for the rest of the group to get gassed, that's when people get upset.
Walk through that. Is that what's happening? Because that's not the first time I've heard that.
Oh, that's what's happened every single night. Every person that throws a bottle, throws a rock, throws a brick, throws a firework is nowhere to be found when the pepper balls, flashbangs, and tear gas are deployed.
And obviously it just incenses the people who are out here doing the right thing, and they're trying to get after it.
Yeah, and then that makes them tense with the police, which makes people who wouldn't want to throw something, who can't breathe, or maybe they can't see, or they're startled by a flashbang, take whatever's in their hand and throw it back at where that attack just came from. Because in reality, they're being assaulted. Just as your officers are being assaulted, these people are being assaulted. It's both ways. And I don't know what the solution is, But what I know is that tear gas should not be used.
Well, I think, maybe part of that solution is something that we've already taken our first step on, is having conversations like this, is having demonstrations like this that allow people to unify, get their voice across, say what it is that they have to say lawfully, peacefully, and officers protecting their First Amendment rights, facilitating their opportunity to do just that. Look, man, there's a lot in the world that ain't right?
We could have the conversation for a year straight without stopping. I totally understand.
Right? I may not agree with you on everything, but I respect you.
Sure.
I don't agree with everything everybody's saying here. There's some vitriol coming out of here. I don't agree with it.
Of course.
I'll tell you what, I respect and honor their right to say it.
Okay.
Right? Where you kind of lose me is where the bottles and the rocks are getting thrown. You kind of lose me where something gets lit on fire, or heaven forbid, it's a business window. Some guy who just slugged his whole life, with his tail off.
Well, that's why we're in the business district, but keep going.
That's not lost either. I know everything, hey, nothing's organic, my man.
I got you.
Everything's strategic, right? Who's got those voices? The people working their asses off to keep food on the table for their kids. These businesses, the pandemic would be closed for weeks, if not longer. We got this marching through the middle of town, which is gratifying to see. But when it gets darker sometimes, man, like windows broken out here. A couple of stores, not many, a couple of stores that have been looted. Obviously, you can't defend it. It takes away from the whole movement, does it not?
It absolutely does. I agree with that, but there are people out here that don't. And I had a conversation with Christy Puckett-Williams, who I've been out here with every day. She was on our podcast today, and she said, these people are here to protest against the injustices that have happened against them in their communities. This is not their community. They don't fucking care about these buildings. Somebody that breaks out the window at Sacchetti is never going to work at Sacchetti. Sacchetti is never going to be a part of their life. They don't care. They're here trying to be loud. They're here trying to...
That runs counter to their message. They say, and if I'm hearing it right, it's all about unity.
Yes.
It's all about community. Are these people in these buildings, the people who own these buildings, the people who work in these buildings, have shops in these buildings, are they not community too?
I can't tell you that.
You can't? Well, who can?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Come on, man.
Because they're not out here walking with the community, at least.
It's inconsistent. How can you be about unity and the community and ignore the very members of the community that are having their businesses destroyed?
I've been making that same argument for days,
on,
so I understand. I'm telling you,
give it to me straight.
I'm telling you other people's opinions that I just had a conversation with today. I'm reporting to you. I'm saying I made that same argument right here 3 days ago. I sat down and had an hour-long conversation about why people shouldn't be throwing bricks through windows. So don't think that that's lost on me. But the thing is that what I know from being out here is all of these people are willing to remain as peaceful as possible if their flow of protests is not impeded on by the people that they're out here protesting against.
Let's start here. We could, and then we got to get back into the play here and pick up some of this. We don't want to miss anything. Run us down, man. All right? Hey, so let's start here. And we met, and I think that we agreed on several things. How about I start here? Any cop who breaks the law, don't put him in jail, put him under the freaking jail, all right?
Yeah.
Any cop who steps out of line, isn't consistent with policy, doesn't align with, standard operating procedures, directives, they need to be disciplined. They need to be singled out, they need to be held accountable, right? I condemn it. Do you condemn people breaking windows? Do you condemn people throwing rocks at cops and other protesters?
It's not my job to condemn it. I'm here to report on it.
See, I knew that's where we would part company.
No, because you're trying to get me to take a side.
Indefensible.
But you're trying to get me to take a side. I'm just trying to get the facts. I do have a side. I have a personal side, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm not out here on a personal agenda.
That's what it says. Well, so you can't meet me there.
Do you think... Okay, now, let me ask you a question. Do you condemn the fact that an officer would use his knee to put on the back of somebody's neck to keep them on the ground? I've been studying martial arts for 18 years. I can think of, in 3 seconds, because I've already done it, 7 different ways to restrain somebody without touching their neck.
Well, that's good. And I'd want you in my corner if I ever, crossed anybody.
So,
sound like the right guy.
So just today, Chief Putney implemented a neglect of duty policy. So I'm curious why that wasn't already a common sense policy.
it's not as easy. No, and I do appreciate that. And without getting into the nuances and losing everybody at home and the minutia and everything else like that, not as easy as just putting pen to paper and making that happen when it comes to a policy like that. So many variables, so many dynamics, so many different stakeholders and interests that have to be looked at. Situations like that are very dynamic when they involve the use of force. You're a police officer, I'm a police officer, I come rolling up on a scene to something that you're already engaged in. I don't know what precipitated this whole thing. I don't know what prompted this whole thing. I don't know if what you're doing is just or unjust. Sometimes I might be able to tell, it's just glaringly obvious. Other times it's the areas, and frequently the areas of gray. Now I'm on the hook, I'm held to account for something that I had no prior knowledge of, and that's baked into policy. So there, you want to talk about a needle thread. That was just the very definition of a needle thread. And I got a kick out of some in the press and say, this is just it's something that he wanted to do now because of the politics and the environment. It's something that's been on the front burner for months. We've had external stakeholders come in and weigh in. We've had internal stakeholders. I mean, this had to be done by committee. You don't have a czar as the police chief. You've got a guy who works by team, right?
Sure.
That's the way it's got to. That's the way it's
Essentially an advisory board.
But it's the guy's on his school.
I get it because it's a government entity,
Right.
So I understand that.
Right.
But the thing is when you're talking about threading a needle, I understand that sometimes the situation isn't always as black and white as it may seem on video. But if you're an officer and you feel like, I'm a concealed carry weapons holder.
Okay.
I know the laws in North Carolina about firing a weapon using deadly force. And I know that if I'm in fear of somebody's life, within certain limitations, I'm within my rights to fire upon that person. Which means that if I, as an individual, am allowed to identify the fear of somebody else's life, then an officer should be able to do that as well. And the fact that we'll just talk about George Floyd for now and not talk about Dan Queers Franklin or Keith Lamont Scott or anything like that. The fact that there were 3 other officers around him while he had his knee on his neck for 9 minutes, with 2 other people on his body, one standing up while he's in handcuffs, you understand that it's a problem. How did that video make you feel? You used to be a New York City cop, right?
Yeah. That's the definition of a problem. How do I feel? I'll tell you how I feel. Let me start with Mr. Floyd himself in the cop. He perpetrated the whole act. Put his knee on. I don't know if he's a racist. I don't know what he has in his heart. I don't know if he's a racist. Like, listen to it.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's the code.
Absolutely.
Handcuffs are on somebody, it's over. This guy was even resisting. It's over. It's chicken shit.
He was begging to be put in the car.
So let's just start there, okay? 3, he stood by idly, indifferent to the whole thing.
Do you think that they have been charged, but do you think it's appropriate to charge them with accessory?
Don't know enough about what their role may or may not have been. I do know that if they were witness to it and they did nothing, or they sat there indifferent, at the very least they shouldn't have a job. Now,
Okay.
I do know that things are different. I heard about the violations that the officer had with the knee, 18 if I'm not mistaken. Think about that too.
Yeah.
Think about that. Now, I don't know if that's a union state, and I do know that when you have police departments that are unionized, you have very little latitude if you're a police chief to cite someone for termination.
You're from there. Is it a union state?
It is a
union state.
My assumption. I do remember when I was in New York. I was a union guy.
He's not a well-liked police chief.
No.
He's the guy that spoke at the Trump conference. He's the one that spoke at the Trump conference.
Short of an act of Congress, you're never going to be able to get a bad cop. Are you his boss?
No, he's just my friend.
I actually commented on your Twitter feed too. I'm the Army Ranger that called it a linear ambush.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree that that's optics.
It wasn't
optics. It wasn't.
So
you've
seen my video. I've seen WSOC's video from the air, and then I shared a video that I don't know if you have seen, but it was on my personal Facebook from the front of the group. I'm trying to get one person to either acknowledge the fact that it was an ambush or give me their God's honest opinion about what they felt and saw from CMPD's side.
I'll tell you what I personally saw.
Please.
And how I personally feel.
Please.
And this is no reflection on CMPD. Disappointment, heartbreak. I saw young people who seemed like they were in a position that they didn't know where there was a clear exit.
Do you feel like it was excessively aggressive?
I don't know if I could say at this point without having all the information. I do know at first blush I probably feel the same way that you feel with the limited information that I have seeing the video. It doesn't look good, Justin. It just straight up does not look good.
Would you consider it an ambush? There were before you answer. There were officers on the second floor of the parking structure, which means that they had to have been positioned there before we got to that street.
And that's not uncommon. I'm not going to get into too deep into it.
I've noticed.
The officer said the other night that you cannot occupy elevated firing positions.
Yeah, there was an officer that told me.
But first of all, were they firing? I haven't been able to
yes.
I hear a couple of things.
I understand.
Sir, watch the video. Watch the video and interview one of 400 people that'll tell you that they were doing it. It was absolutely happening.
I don't deny that it could have possibly have happened. You know? And I'm going to be awfully careful because you work for the department.
Plus there's
I understand.
Plus there's an internal investigation. I totally get it.
The antithesis of it, independent. If I'm going to interject,
but I will say this: I was a tactics instructor in the military for 10 years. If that wasn't an intentional ambush, it certainly was. You stumbled onto a gang deadline because I couldn't have planned a better one myself.
You know what breaks my heart? You know, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. I know, Justin, what you do feel about it. I'm saying that sometimes journalism ethics that you've got working. You know, all of the goodwill, all of the managing respect that, you know, officers had really leveraged over the first several days, and we can agree to disagree in some areas. I think that all evaporated in one fell swoop on Tuesday night when that video came out. That's
absolutely
a damn shame because, you know, you got men and women, whether you want to believe it or not. Maybe you do believe it because you've defended the officers too on occasion.
Excuse me.
You bet. But you know what? It breaks my heart to see these men and women out here. Nobody loves this community better than the men and the women like this. These guys, doing their shifts, long shifts. You think any of these guys want to toss out a canister of gas? You think any of these guys want to put their hands on their weapon and you know, have to draw down on someone?
I can't answer that truthfully because
I can, Justin.
I know that power is a powerful thing. That's what I know. And I'm sure that there's one or two or maybe more people that might get their rocks off on doing that. I do, because I know what goes on in this world. I know about white supremacy. I know about nationalism. I know about fascism. I can't tell you. I'm not talking about these guys. I'm not talking about these guys individually or as themselves. But are there white supremacists and nationalists and fascists in police forces around the country? 1 trillion %. Yes. At least one. Can you at least admit that there's at least one?
I mean, there could be a unicorn rolling around on roller skates. I'm not going to say that there's not. I've yet to meet a white supremacist that's a cop. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I'm not dismissing what you say. I just, you know, like, look, I'll walk up on it. You want to walk with me? Look, these guys, you know what I see? I don't see white supremacists. You know what I see? Hey, you got a father? Your father? You got children? Yes, sir. Yeah, how many? 1 child, right? You want your boy or girl? Boy. Boy, you want him to grow up in a free society where he trusts the police? You think this helps? Do you think this dissent and freedom of speech and freedom of expression is a healthy thing? Freedom of expression, yes. Absolutely.
Do you think the fact that they're out here protesting inequality and injustice is a good thing? Do you hope that there's policy change that comes from this?
Well, he's going to be limited in what he can say because he is on the clock. He doesn't have the kind of latitude that I have. What I'm trying to say, father.
And I'm not father. I got 2 dogs and a cat and a wife that I love dearly.
Yeah. And he's been out here for a long time. Look, I don't see white supremacists. I don't see it. I can't see into the hearts of any of these.
But this is a blanket statement. We don't know these people, and it might not be these people. You have 1,800 officers at CMPD, correct? For Charlotte?
A little bit north of that. And hey, Justin, I'm just saying, you know, like 150 or so vacancies. So if if anybody here, including yourself.
Oh, I absolutely plan on taking the Citizens Training Academy thing that you guys have as soon as this is over.
We're hiring, and that doesn't just go for Justin or any of the young people that are out here demonstrating tonight. CharlottePoliceJobs.org, if anybody's ever interested in signing up. And, you know, everybody talks about the change. We want the change. Well, you know, damn it, get it, be part of the change. Fill out an application and let's do it together.
Well, that's why these people want to have conversations, because as much as they say fuck 12 and fuck CMPD and they hate the police, they understand that it's a few bad ones, and that's why they want to have dialogues with everybody. You get that, right? What's up, man?
That's the truth, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's a big deal, right? Yeah, I didn't realize he was right beside me recording that. I'm glad he recorded it. Because I didn't have a chance to take out my phone.
You were on 4th Street?
I was right there beside you, and then I had to go shield some kids that lost their parents. They got pushed.
So there were children in there?
Yeah, because I was shooting them. I was like this, but I was like, damn, the smoke. I thought it was just flashbangs, but then it turned to smoke because I turned to my left. Then when I turned, my fiance was right beside me, and she was gone. Come to find out, she got trampled. I didn't even know that.
Did you feel like you were suffocating? Were you in the tear gas?
I felt like I was gonna die, and I have chest problems because I used to smoke blacks all the time, and I stopped. It felt like I smoked blacks all over again.
You felt like you were gonna die?
Yeah, so I had to vandalize. We had to break down something. We had to break something. They said it was our fault. That's why they came in there shooting. You know, like this private property. Well, you didn't give us a chance. You didn't go on the intercom and say, you know, let's go.
That's another thing that I've been bringing up is...
They stopped doing it. And I was asking him why. Because he's at the epicenter.
Yeah.
Like stage at the epicenter. And he was like, he's tired of the looters. So what's that got to do with us? Because the looters be gone. The looters be gone. The looters be gone.
So one thing that I've been...
You know, so I was like, that's not, don't punish everybody else. And I was like, you know, there was kids in there. Like, they were panicking. I've never panicked. I've been in shootouts. And that right there is different. I'd rather get shot at than the way you get tear gas.
Say it again.
I'd rather get shot at all day than tear gas. At the end of the day, I can still control my breathing.
Say it again.
I'd rather get shot at than get tear gas.
Give me a hug, brother.
Yeah, that's not it.
Be safe out here, homie.
So we walking up, or what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna get back up in there, but I got one more thing that I've been trying to bring up to everybody. The 9 dispersal. I know that the dispersal orders are supposed to be recorded. I understand that. And then there were supposed to be 9 dispersal orders before that incident happened. And I always announce the unlawful gathering orders on my live feed.
Before that happened, I'd have to go back and look at the analog.
I know that there were 18 total, but I was told that there were 9 before the incident. I heard the first one 1 hour after that happened. So I recommend, aside from extra training on identifying individuals in the crowd that are causing violence, but I recommend finding a new way to address those dispersal orders, because those on top of those gators, those loud recorded things, say we're right here, you and I, and we just fell back because we're tired, our feet hurt, we're drinking, we're fueling up, and they give an unlawful gathering order at the front of that crowd, and we walk up there and we don't know, and they don't let off the flashbang or the tear gas yet, but they do right when we get up there. We had no idea that we were walking into that attack.
So you are under the assumption or of the mind that, you know, there could be protesters or demonstrators in the gang who may not have heard.
Absolutely, 100%. You can't.
Okay, so
it was both of us.
Friday night, when we were on Baby Four.
Christy's here.
No, I'm from Charlotte. Well, I'm not. I don't know what to say. But so what I want to tell you is on Friday night, they were saying something on that little baby thing, but we couldn't hear it because of the traffic. There were 2 shots. The people were screaming. There were flash tornadoes going on. There was smoke. We were being pelted with bullets. So how can we hear anything about the crowd, the police saying something, but they got on gas now. So when they come to tell you something, you're like, what? What are you saying?
So you say something probably just didn't hear it.
I was on the front line and I couldn't hear. Yeah, no. What you mean? No, yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to motherfucking make shit be what y'all want it to be.
My question was this. You know, when you watch those protesters come around that corner, that third, there was 50 officers standing there, all of them. Apparently there was a dispersal order given someplace else in town. Why didn't the officers, there was 50 of them standing there, say, hey guys, you're given a dispersal order, go home.
Get the fuck out of here.
Relay it.
They wanted to trap us and ambush
that would be a
us.
great.
See, this is helpful.
That would be a great thing, you know, like.
But
once the order is given, every officer should be saying, a dispersal order's been given, go home. And
But-
that wasn't
To
done.
relay the original.
But you have to understand that that's common sense, right? The fact that it should be repeated over and over before anything is implemented. Dispersal orders?
So when they came to on us,
Well, Koch tells me it's
Right or
because of
wrong is another
the
issue, but if it is given, it should be told everybody.
I guess.
That's the first part.
does sound like she's
That's the
from New
first
York,
part. But if you,
Chrissy's from Beatties Ford Road. Chrissy's from Beatties Ford Road, where we held our first protest on Friday.
Got a little bit of New York thing going on?
She does sometimes. I'm from New York too.
Where you from, my man?
The Catskills.
I think New York.
It's the good part of New York.
and then gas.
Right? Poconos,
Yep.
Catskills.
So look, I get it. We agree on some stuff. We disagree on some stuff. So just to reiterate our entire conversation, here's what I'm asking. Gets brought up to whoever's higher up where they can implement it.
It's brought up. We did it on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm sure every executive in that organization, in that very building right there, at police headquarters.
We are walking by CMPD's headquarters. We're on Trade Street.
You know,
We're walking
probably
down toward
hanging out every
Myers.
syllable that you say. I know they're hanging out every syllable I say. They're probably just a little interested that I don't go off the reservation and say anything I shouldn't say, especially when it comes to things that are under investigation that I have to be careful about. But that shouldn't be a reason why we don't get out here and try to communicate to the extent that we could.
Absolutely.
We're here too.
Yeah.
Very little of what police that they do should be shrouded in mystery, right? People's work, people's business.
Yeah.
We're accountable to the people. We should be transparent.
Yeah.
Reasonably transparent to the extent that we could be. So that's why we're getting out here and kind of working without a net. I'm not going to lie and say that it's not a little tricky working without a net. Doing this live.
Yeah, I'm going to go back up there and get into it. It was nice meeting
I
you.
wish I had a card on me. Do you have a card on you?
Yeah.
I want to call you on
Hey,
line and
please don't be rude to Morgan Fogarty. That's my very good friends.
Talking with her today. She's coming on my podcast on Tuesday.
Okay. I would like to. We're going to be out here every night until this is over. I would like to see some subject matter experts available for the community to discuss.
That is very, very good. I will take that LRAD.
Yes, the LRAD. I know what you're talking about. The loud range audio device or whatever. Yeah. I don't play.
Hey, brother, seriously.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
It was a pleasure. All right. Whatever. We'll do that.
All right. Do I need to recap that? Thank you.
But guess what? Jesus saved me. Jesus saved me. Jesus saves.
Christy getting off on Sam.
Hey, everybody love Jesus. Make some noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was trying to trap you into saying things.
I know. Ryan just called me and told me that I avoided everything.
Well, the only thing I want to say this in your stream too. If they come out tomorrow and say Justin Harrison said that the police here are white supremacists, that is not the context of that at all. I heard it. What he said is that there are white supremacists on police forces, and you wanted him to agree that there could be one.
Yeah, just say one.
Clearly, there's
hundreds and thousands.
He tried to flip that narrative on you and tried to say, you think these people are white supremacists, and then walk down the line and said he was trying to embarrass you.
Yeah, I know, right?
So mark my word right now. Give him a timestamp, whatever timestamp is right now. You see that? If you got bullshit tomorrow, it ain't true.
10:29.
That's if you see it tomorrow, it ain't true. It's bullshit.
We're outside the Mecklenburg County Jail again, protesting. This front line of this march has been arm in arm the whole time, marching peacefully. No police intervention, no impeding the flow of the protests. We have bicycle escorts that have been out here. Somebody tell Morgan Fogarty that I grilled Rob Tufano for her, even though he's a nice guy.
He's like, hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot.
All right, guys, I'm gonna hop off here. Peaceful protest, couple hundred people out here. We're walking down, crossing over Myers Street. No, we're turning right, heading down that way. I'll start back up here in a minute, all right?